Hi everybody, my name is Joe and welcome to my channel, VegasJoePolitics. Now if you've been following me on any of the other platforms, you know I usually do short videos, a minute to 3 minutes, talking about what's happening in politics. And I decided I'm going to come over here to YouTube and try a little bit of a longer format once a week. And this is going to be basically my week in review. Again, my name is Joe. I am a Gen X, left-leaning person. I have no degree in political science. I have never held office, nor have I ever run or worked for a campaign. I'm just someone who has an intense interest in politics and gives my opinion on it. That being said, let's get started. So Monday was the final day of the Biden presidency, and on his way out the door, he issued a slew of pardons. He issued pardons to family members, mainly his siblings and their spouses. He issued pardons to the January 6th committee, and he also issued a pardon to Anthony Fauci. Now that being said, these were all preemptive pardons. These were not pardons that were that were for any specific crime. These were pardons to protect these people from retribution from the incoming administration. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, if they're innocent, why do they need pardons? Well, they need pardons because Trump and his allies have promised retribution. And to keep these innocent people safe, these people who are just doing their job, holding the former president and now president accountable for his actions on January 6th and throughout his presidency, they need the pardons. In the case of Anthony Fauci, he has been villainized by the right just because he was doing his job trying to save American life during the pandemic. I know this is unprecedented, and I know this is something we've never seen before, but we are living in times that we've never lived through before. All norms and political norms and the way things were done in the past have been thrown out the door by Donald Trump, his allies, and his administration. Therefore, we have to do things differently than we were doing beforehand. We have to do things to protect the innocents that we haven't done before. And these preemptive pardons hopefully will be enough to do it, though I'm not sure if they will, honestly. Trump has already said that he finds these pardons suspicious, and he also found it suspicious that Biden didn't pardon himself. This could be signaling that he's going to go after these people with his administration now that he's in power, or it could just mean that he plans on pardoning himself once he comes to this end of these 4 years. Another concerning thing was Jim Jordan saying that he still wants to go after people even though they've been pardoned. Jim Jordan is a very powerful congressman. He sits on a chair of, I believe, the Judicial Committee. So these are scary times we're living in. So these people needed the pardons. I know the right points fingers saying, well, this is crap. These pardons should have never been given. If they're innocent, they don't need pardons. But we don't live in those times anymore, unfortunately. The times we live in now, we have to be proactive to protect the innocent. Monday was also the inauguration of Donald Trump, making him the 47th president of the United States. I believe he's the only president, only one of two presidents that served consecutive terms, non-consecutive terms. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll do some more research on that, but I believe that was a history-making event. Also, another history-making event is the fact that we have put in power a gentleman who has 34 felony convictions against him. Now, you can say that they are political or not, but he was found guilty by a jury. He is a felon. There's no way around that. You can spin the narrative however you want to spin it. It doesn't change the fact that that's how it is. Also at the inauguration, we saw him surrounded by his tech billionaire buddies. Everyone from Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos to Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook of Apple, or as Trump calls him, Tim Apple, they were all there, which is a disturbing sign that we are slipping further into an oligarchy. These people wield power with their money. And it isn't just Musk. It's Zuckerberg, it's Bezos, it's all of them. And as we see wealth inequality spread, these are the people who are getting richer and richer, while the poor and the middle class gets poorer. The line between the middle class and the working class has pretty much disappeared. We are all now working class unless we had a seat at the table at that inauguration. It's very disturbing, and like I said, I don't know what we're going to do about it, but we got to start doing something about it because we are losing our freedoms, we are losing our country. The people who voted for Trump don't seem to understand that he is not the champion of the little man. He is not the champion of the working class. He is the champion of those gentlemen in suits sitting behind him at the inauguration. So the inauguration was moved inside this year because of weather concerns. Some people say, though, it was so he wouldn't be embarrassed by the crowd size. We're not going to get into that because that's speculative. He moved it inside. It was very, very cold, extremely cold. What was done was done. His supporters who traveled to D.C. to watch the inauguration were not able to get inside the rotunda of the Capitol because it only holds a couple hundred people. So they set up a viewing area at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. And that's where his supporters gathered. It just looked like a normal Trump rally. When they showed Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama entering the rotunda for the inauguration, the crowd booed like you would expect them to do at a Trump rally. And then after the inauguration, Trump and his gang, they traveled to the Capital One Arena and basically held a Trump rally. The most notable thing that came out of that rally, though, was Elon's hand gesture. Now some say it was mimicking the salute that was used in the 1930s and early 40s in Germany. Some are calling it a Roman salute, which is kind of silly. Some say it was because of his autism. It was just a tic. Whatever the case may be, it was disturbing. And it was disturbing not so much because of the hand gesture, but because we know what kind of person Elon Musk is. He has a long history of anti-Semitism and racism. To prove the point, over this weekend here, this weekend we're in right now, he was in Germany at a rally of the far right party in Germany, which resembles closely their ideals and the philosophies of the far right party of the 30s and early 40s in Germany. And in a statement, he said that the German children shouldn't feel guilty about the actions of their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. That it was time to start moving on from that. And we all know what he's talking about. And it's scary that we are trivializing these kind of things nowadays. There's so much of the fact that I have to speak in code word so I don't get a flag or a ban on my content because I mention that party of 1930s Germany. So after the inauguration activities, Trump went back to the White House and signed a slew of executive orders, I believe well over 100. Too much to go in here. So we're just going to go over the top hits of the executive orders. First of all, he ended birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship basically means if you are born on American soil, it doesn't matter the immigration status or any status of your parents, you are a U.S. citizen. Now, he ended that with an executive order, which has already been challenged in court because this is a part of the Constitution. It's part of the 14th Amendment, part of the Civil War amendments. So he most likely can't do that without sending it through Congress, the Senate, and having 3/4 of the United States approve it. So it was more of a show thing, but it's scary nonetheless that this is where they're thinking and this is what he believes they should be doing. He thinks that birthright citizenship should be ended if the parents are not here legally or or here on some kind of visa or a parolee or something like that. It's to get rid of what they call anchor babies. It's scary because they're even taking it so far, questioning if Native Americans, First Nation people here in the United States, the people that were here before us white folks, if they are considered citizens of the United States, because most reservations and most tribes act partially solvent, independent from the United States. So they're questioning the United States citizenship of Native Americans. So we see where this is going. There's a long history of ICE harassing Native Americans, and it just adds to the shame in the blight on our country from the way the Native Americans were treated throughout history. This is another insult to the natives of this land, where we should be lifting them up. We're constantly trying to push them down. Another thing that he removed was diversity, equity, and inclusion policies from the federal government. That's more commonly known as DEI. This is fast sweeping. There have already been a lot of people in our federal government who have lost their jobs because of this. Emails have gone out to different agencies asking employees to report people who are in positions because of DEI. DEI is just the latest boogeyman. It used to be, it was affirmative action for a long time, and now it's DEI, and basically it's just a racist dog whistle. They like to use DEI anytime someone from a marginalized community or someone or a person of color gets in a position within the federal government or in any government or any agency or even in business. The repercussions are far spread because it's not just the federal government we're seeing removing DEI. We've seen many companies remove their DEI programs, from Walmart to Target, TJ Maxx, Jack Daniel's Whiskey, Harley Davidson, just to name a few. A standout in the entire thing is Costco, because Costco's board of directors stood firm against their shareholders and said, we are not removing our DEI policy. It's something that is crucial to our company culture, and we are going to continue to do DEI. And it's a good thing. We need inclusion, diversity, and equity. It's not giving preferential treatment to an unqualified person, as they like to claim. It gives equal treatment to someone, a person of color or someone from a marginalized community, instead of seeing John Smith on a resume and automatically going with that person because they assume their race and nationality. Another thing he did, he's left the Paris Climate Accord, and he also left the World Health Organization. These are horrible things. Of course, the Climate Accord protects the environment against climate change. It's something that is multinational, and we have decided to walk out on it. Fortunately, Michael Bloomberg, the billionaire and former mayor of New York, has pledged to subsidize the Paris Climate Accord, basically making up the money that the United States government will be pulling from it. As for the World Health Organization, these are the people who track diseases going through the world and update and make sure that everyone in the world are prepared for it. Pandemics, we know what it's like to live through a pandemic now. This is not something that is just found in our history books, almost everyone alive today has now lived through a pandemic. And that is one of the reasons that Trump wants to pull from the World Health Organization, because his political talking points and his followers believe the pandemic was, a lot of it was a hoax. The precautions were overreaching and jeopardized our freedoms as citizens, and it's all just ridiculous. And we need to really start putting emphasis on science instead of feelings. It doesn't matter what your opinion is. If there are scientific facts that have been peer-reviewed and published, back up the facts. Those are the facts. Your facts don't make it. Your feelings don't make it facts. I talked about a couple weeks ago. Everyone has different truths, but everyone cannot have different facts. So if you want to stay informed about what's going on in the World Health Organization, there's a link in my link tree that you can sign. It goes to the news page of their website, and you can keep up to date with what the World Health Organization is saying, so you are prepared on a personal level and do not rely on our government for the information, because I got a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of misinformation, especially when it comes to stuff like that, out of our government. He also implemented Schedule F. Now, if you don't know what Schedule F is, it basically makes all government employees serving at the will of the president. In the past, the heads of these departments, secretaries of the departments, they serve at the will of the president, but their underlings, the rank and file that actually do the jobs, they are government employees and they are protected from political retribution because of their political stance. This removes all their protections unless they're under a collective bargaining agreement with a union, so that they can be fired at any time. Again, this is part of ending the DEI programs, because this gives them the ability to fire whenever. And it really reeks of McCarthyism, honestly. You're going to see a lot of people in these agencies reporting their fellow employees to so they can go ahead and get them out of there if they don't agree with the Trump administration. And we're going to be worse off for it. These are lifelong employees who are good at their job and good at what they do, but they're going to be let go because maybe they voted Democrat or contributed to a Democratic campaign, or had the audacity to come on something like this and speak out against Trump. It's just one more step falling towards fascism. He did extend the deadline for the TikTok ban, only 75 days, and he's floated ideas about a 50% stake from a U.S. company. He actually said the U.S. government as well, but we're not quite sure. I'm hearing today they're talking about Oracle purchasing 50%. I don't know. In the past, the Chinese government and ByteDance said that TikTok is not for sale in any stretch of the imagination, but we'll see what happens with that. And this one goes out to all you not independents, but far left-leaning Democrats who were dissatisfied with the Biden administration's dealing with Gaza and Kamala Harris's stance on Gaza. We heard a lot from you guys about you cannot support a candidate that supports G-side. So you either are not going to vote for Kamala, or you're going to vote for a full party or a third party, or you will vote for Trump. Well, you're in your find out stage of this one, because Trump on his first day removed any sanctions on Israeli settlements in the West Bank. I just, before I started recording this, saw a report that he wants to push all Palestinians to Jordan and to Egypt, leaving the West Bank and the Gaza Strip open for Israel. And he also has increased the weapons and the kind of weapons that we are supplying to Israel, giving them some of our deadliest bombs. So good going, that Never Kamala crowd. I'm glad to see that worked out for you guys. Moving on. So also on that first day, Trump pardoned or commuted the sentence of over 1,700 people that were involved in the January 6th riots. Even people that were convicted of seditious conspiracy, the people who were convicted of assaulting police officers, all out of jail because of this man. This is just payback because they did his will. Now they get their rewards. Again, I blame Merrick Garland and the Biden Justice Department for not going after Trump in the first place, going after these lower level offenders, because all they did is put in a bunch of people who were just out there and duped by the president at the time without going after the leader. And now that he's back in power, they're all back on the streets, ready to go again. Very few of them have any kind of contrition. In fact, a lot of them are saying that they want retribution from the people who prosecuted them. We're just setting up for a second attempt, and this time it may not fail. Scary times we live in. Scary times we live in. I did a video though about this, and a lot of my comments revolved around the fact that people claim that it couldn't have been an insurrection because there were no guns. Well, whether there were no guns is debatable. A lot of people did see guns in the insurrection, but nevertheless, there were other weapons. There was pepper spray, bear spray. They used flagpoles. They used police shields that they took from the police officers they were beating. It was an insurrection. As you guys are quick to point out, after a mass shooting, that guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, guns don't cause insurrections, people cause insurrections. So after the inauguration, Vice President Harris and her husband Doug Emhoff, they traveled back to California and went right home to a welcoming party. No, that's not what they did. They actually went to one of the relief camps where the firefighters and first responders and volunteers gather to organize, rest, and be fed while they fight the firefighters in California, the wildfires in California. When I see pictures of Kamala Harris and Doug out doing these kind of things, it makes me sad of what we could have had. A Harris-Walz administration would have been monumental in changing the way our country ran. Yet, here we are. Donald Trump is now in charge. Donald Trump is now the President of the United States. And we are going to see a different United States, but not for the good. Not like it could have been with Walz and Harris. Well, with Trump taking office, we are now seeing the promised mass deportation ICE raids throughout the country. We've seen them in California, Chicago, in New Jersey. In New Jersey, they raided a business, took into custody an American citizen who happens to also be a military veteran. ICE has no morals. Their direction is very loose. They are not held to the same standards of all other law enforcement agencies. Therefore, if you happen to have brown skin and ICE rolls up, you are at risk. So we need to make sure on our part, if you are a legal citizen of the United States, you need to do everything you can to oppose these horrendous racist raids that are happening. If you are at jeopardy, you need to make sure you know your rights. If you go to my link tree, there is a link to the ACLU website, and they'll break it all down to you, what you should do if you are approached by ICE. If you are an American citizen, though, and this is my plan, though I don't think anyone from ICE will be approaching me, but if I am ever in an area that I see an ICE raid, I am going to make as much noise, I am going to make as much fuss, and I am going to occupy as much of ICE's time that I can dealing with me to give the people who they are looking for a chance to get the hell out. Another thing Trump did this first week of his presidency is he revoked the Secret Service protection for John Bolton, Michael Pompeo, and Anthony Fauci. So if we go back to the preemptive pardons that Biden did, this is proving the point. Trump is out for revenge. These are all people that he considers political enemies. He considers them a threat to his presidency and a threat to his power. Therefore, he removed their protections, their well-earned protections. The same week, he released 1,600 foot soldiers that are willing to do his bidding. These people are in danger. They will have to pay for security out of their own pockets. And it just goes to show that this administration is not going to be acting fairly. It is going to be acting and looking for revenge. On Friday, Trump visited North Carolina to survey the storm damage, and he also visited California to look at the firefighting efforts and the damage left from the California wildfires. While he was in North Carolina, he floated the idea of eliminating FEMA. Now, this is very controversial. A lot of people don't like FEMA. They don't feel FEMA does enough, but these people also don't quite understand what FEMA is meant to do and what FEMA is. FEMA is the last resort. FEMA is where the states go to when they can no longer provide and handle the emergency. Now, a lot of people say, well, we could just give the states the money we were going to give to FEMA and they'll be able to handle it. But it's not that simple. A lot of times when there are natural disasters, such as the California wildfires, other states sends relief and aid, whether it's materials, whether it's actual people. FEMA covers those expenses. FEMA makes that possible. So if you eliminate FEMA, there's a lot that goes into it. They're not going to get their funding. And also FEMA coordinates that. Instead of just people willy-nilly showing up there, FEMA coordinates what they need and where it's going to come from. By eliminating FEMA, as much as you guys think it's a great idea, you're putting yourselves, especially in states that are prone to natural disasters like tornadoes and hurricanes, at risk of not getting the aid you need. There have been a lot of false narratives promoting that FEMA doesn't do a good job without the facts that back it up. A lot of times it's because the Republicans in Congress won't vote for the funding FEMA needs. So, getting rid of FEMA is going to be a disaster to everyone in this United States of America anytime there's a natural disaster or anything that needs that kind of relief. Another thing he floated about the disaster is that California will not get the funding they need unless they do a couple of things. One of the things is he wants that magic spigot he thinks is up in Northern California turned back on, sending the water down to Southern California. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is his ignorance on how water in the state of California works and water rights work, or is this just a situation where all those people in the Central Valley, they end up having more water because the magic spigot was turned on. Like I said, I'm not sure if he understands the complexity of it or if he's just trying to reward his voter base, because that Central Valley is as red as it can come. And speaking of the Central Valley, we're in for a rough ride when it comes to produce. It seems that more than 75% of the migrant workers that pick the food in the Central Valley, pick the crops, have not shown up to work because of the ICE raids that have already started in California and the promised mass deportation. So that means that all our produce, the carrots in the field, the grapes on the vine, the citrus, the oranges on the tree are not getting picked. They're rotten. They're rotting. They're not going to make it to our grocery stores. And the ones that do make it to our grocery stores are going to be 3 times more expensive. These are the real repercussions of these policies. You think we're just going to we're going to go through, we're going to round up the illegals and ship them back. But there are consequences to those policies. Who do you think picks our fruit? Who do you think pick our produce? Who washes our dishes? Who makes our beds in the hotels? They're not MAGA voting Americans. These are the people that are in this country searching for a better life and are willing to do these hard, dirty, back-breaking jobs for very little money. It's wrong, it's exploitative, but it keeps the costs down. And as we're seeing, before any policies even really take effect, just the fear of those policies are going to have repercussions of our food supply and our food chain. So back to the inauguration for a second. Traditionally during the inauguration, there's a tea at the White House where the outgoing administration hosts the incoming administration, and it's a social gathering before they head off to the Capitol for the swearing-in ceremony. At said tea, our old buddy Bruce Fisher, the husband of Senator Deb Fisher, the one that refused to shake Kamala Harris's hands when Kamala was swearing in his wife, tried to shake second husband Doug Emhoff's hand. Second gentleman Doug Emhoff's hand. Doug, being the true stand-up guy he is, showing his support and love for his wife, told him no. Refused to shake this man's hand. What a stand-up guy this guy is. Very impressed by that. He said to the man, "You wouldn't shake my wife's hand. Why should I shake yours?" Now, these are rumors and haven't been confirmed, but man, I hope it's true. I posted a video about this the other day, and that will bring us to our unhinged comment of the week. It was posted on YouTube. The comment was, "We need more Caucasian husbands like this." Now, I'm assuming he is talking about Bruce, not Doug. I was going to expose the user here, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I did not delete the comment though, so if you want to go over to my YouTube and check out the video I did on it and look at the comments, you'll see where and who it was. But what a horribly racist, white supremacist thing to say. This is one of the repercussions of Trump being the president. He hasn't made America great again, but he has made it okay to be racist again. Super, super scary. Another part of the inaugural activity is the inaugural service that is held at the National Cathedral. Now, this was held on Tuesday morning, and the Bishop of Washington, the Episcopal Bishop of Washington, Marianne Buddy, presided over the service and gave the sermon. And during that sermon, he called upon Trump and his administration to show kindness and compassion to the members of the marginalized community that are scared right now. With them repealing rights of the LGBTQ plus community, with their mass deportation orders. There are a lot of people in marginalized communities very frightened right now. Bishop Buddy called upon Trump to treat them with compassion. You know who else called upon leaders of nations to treat the underprivileged with compassion? Christ. Yet, all the MAGA followers of Trump and Trump himself has cast this woman as a far left radical, saying there's no point, that this was not the place or the time for such a political statement, and that she should apologize to Trump, which she said in no uncertain terms she would not. Imagine claiming Christianity as your religion, claiming to be a follower of Christ, yet being mad at a member of the clergy calling upon a president of the United States to show Christ-like compassion. The American Christians have lost their way. Their religion is no longer Christianity, it is white Christian nationalism. I'm an atheist. I have no belief in a higher power, but I'm also an anti-theist. And this is one of the reasons that I believe religion harms more than good. If you're not going to follow the preachings of the person that you have based your religion on, what are you basing your religion on? It's been a week. It really has. This was just a small amount of things that have happened this week. There's just too much to cover without making this a 5-hour video. The administration said they wanted to use a shock and awe when it comes to dealing with the immigration issue here in the United States. But it shows that they're using shock and awe about everything. They've done so much this first week, and it's been intentional. They put out so much this first week, and it was meant to make you feel helpless, overwhelmed, disheartened, make you feel like there's nothing we can do to fight back. This isn't true. We have to stay vigilant. We have to call them out at every step of the way. If you need to take a day or two off the news for your mental health, by all means, that's what you should be doing. But you have to stay engaged. We have to keep our eyes open, because they will get more done in the dark, and the more harm will be done in the dark. And it is our responsibility to shine the light on these horrible things. So please, don't get discouraged. Don't get downtrodden. A lot of what was done this week is going to get overturned in the courts, or is going to need the Congress in the Senate to pass it. And there is such a small majority in the Congress right now that there's really good chances that they won't be able to get this through. So let's again make sure that we do not lose sight of what we have to do. Don't give up hope. Keep informed, and keep fighting the good fight. Thank you for spending some time with me. I hope this was educational and entertaining. I'm going to try to do this weekly. During the week, you can see my shorter videos here on YouTube and across all the other social media platforms. And I will keep bringing you my opinion as I see it fit.